that we are live on Substack, I can officially say that welcome back to the After Hours podcast from us, Dr. Vincent, Substack, and Instagram and TikTok. It's so good to be back. I know that I've been off for 2 weeks. Well, we have been off for 2 weeks, but that's mainly because of me. And how are you, Stephen?
I'm really well. I feel like we've had another little. I know you don't think it's been a short holiday break, but I feel like we've had a holiday break.
Well, good for you. I have certainly not felt that it has been a holiday because I know you all watching from Instagram know that I have been away to Texas, specifically Austin, because that's where Shop LC headquarters are located. And we had two shows. We had I don't know, I can't remember exactly how many items that we sold, but we were sold out. We sold approximately one item every 3 seconds, which is, to me, it was a huge achievement, especially one of the shows we started at 6 a.m. in the morning. I don't know who actually shopped at that time, but clearly some people did.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember the last time I did any sort of online shopping at 6 a.m. Uh, in fact, I can probably say categorically I've never done that.
There you go. I'm so happy that people who are watching there did not follow your path, because otherwise we wouldn't have had a successful show.
Look, there are a lot of people who get up a little bit earlier.
And also shift workers.
Shift workers, absolutely. I wish that I could get up just a little bit earlier because I think that there's a real opportunity to start your day strongly, maybe with some exercise, uh, something different for breakfast. Maybe you've got a bit more time before jumping into work. So maybe that's the audience that you connected
Maybe,
with.
maybe. And for those of you who are new to our channel and to our program, Stephen mentioned two topics that were actually two of our most listened and downloaded episodes. One of these topics is actually about breakfast, and you wouldn't believe how vocal people are when it comes to breakfast. Like some people, as a matter of fact, I will show you this after the show. I actually, because I had a lot of waiting times before we went on live. I opened the DM of my Instagram, but in the requested site, the requested folder, which means that this person didn't follow me, and vice versa, but then still send me a message. And I went in, and it was actually a very strong opinion about breakfast. So this person was so against breakfast, and according
Yeah, yeah.
to them, breakfast is one of the biggest lies that are being sold to us to peddle the sales of breakfast cereals and stuff. And they 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 gave a few evidence point that are actually really really compelling, which
That's it.
I also think that you know again, if you want our opinion, both me and Steven, on breakfast, you should go to askdrvincent.com and download this episode. But basically, it's a ritual that may or may not agree with you and with your body, and it's what you are shaping your routine to be. I mean, Stephen just mentioned that you wish that you're more of an early bird.
But
But
I'm not. I stay up late.
but I always know that you are a night owl, and as a matter of fact, a lot of our newsletters, a lot of all of this back end technology that is being applied to make us as and sophisticated happen during the time when I was asleep because Stephen is awake.
Look, I think I'll be really interested to have more of a read of that feedback, and I'll commit to that listener that we will feature some of that feedback in the newsletter
Yeah.
because I think it's a really great discussion to have.
Yes.
One of the things in that episode that I was talking about as well is hinting that a lot of the breakfast cereals and a lot of the advertising and the marketing around breakfast cereals is bright things and high sugar and all of these things that are really just trying to sell product.
Yes. And
So I think it's the right question to
it
ask.
is the right question, and a lot of people. One of the feedback that we also got on that episode was a lot of them didn't realize that Fruit Loop was spelled L, like what you told us.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
There you go. And I know we went on a tangent here, but since you mentioned about feedback and how people receive our conversation, one of the very encouraging and to me, I don't know about you, I would love to hear your opinion on this. To me, it was one of the best compliments that I have ever received when it comes to the Ask Dr. Vincent After Hours podcast, is that a few people have mentioned to me that listening to our podcast is not, it's not like listening to an interview, or it's not listening to an audiobook or even a podcast. They felt that it's almost like the two of us were just having a discussion and conversation, and they happen to be in on the conversation, to be listening on the conversation, which I think, to me, that means a lot because uh, it gives me a little bit of an assurance that we are authentic. Uh, we have opinions that they value, and we never claim to be experts in all of the cases, but we are human. We have lived experience, and we obviously have opinions on stuff. I mean, if you this why else would we be doing podcasts if we don't have opinions on stuff?
Vincent, everyone is welcome. And so, if you, as a listener, if you know someone who might be interested in tuning in, please let them know where we are, askdrvincent.com. And if they want to provide some feedback, there are a couple of ways to do that. There's the comments right there in your screen right now, or there's also the email address. What was your email address again?
It's hello at askdrvincent.com. Make sure that you email that. I know that I have other emails, but no, specifically for podcast, use this email address. Okay, I think it's time for us to introduce the title and topic for today. Uh, as always, Stephen messaged me and asked me, what do we want to talk about this week? And I thought that it's very interesting to have a look at health and wellness from the perspective of social media. Obviously, when we grew up, when our parents grew up, we didn't have this. We didn't have this element of exposure as well as abundance of information when it comes to health and wellness, when it comes to diseases, when it comes to drugs, when it comes to healthy routine. However, uh, we did have access to things like magazine and
Yeah,
TV,
true.
and we do know that how what was being portrayed in the magazine did have a huge role and contribution towards shaping what we consider as healthy, what we consider as beautiful and good looking, and what we consider as the epitome of being healthy.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. But I think that idea that uh, when we were growing up, and our parents and past generations, I was thinking about how did you know at that, how did our parents know if they were the right way, if they were doing the right things? How did people in the 16 and 1700s know if they were um, being healthy and doing the right things? And it occurred to me that until quite recently, it was a mirror and a uh, uh, maybe a set of scales in your bathroom.
Okay.
It wasn't a Fitbit and a Garmin and things that you plug onto your skin and feedback that you get from your phone. Like, the amount of information that we get from the technology around us is astronomically more than it ever has been in our whole history.
So I suppose that's actually a really interesting take and is interesting observation, which, as you were saying these things, I couldn't help but thinking that, what we regard now as the process before we get to the result is almost like in reverse with generations before us, because they could only mm, have an insight on what's actually healthy based on the results, based on
Yeah.
what is visible and observable visually.
Yeah. And even when we think about going to the gym and doing classes, uh, I was a little bit stunned to realize when I started doing some more reading that those fitness classes that we go to, they haven't been around for that long.
Okay.
So our parents' generation probably went to dances. Uh, the generation before them, probably the ones that were doing what we would recognize as fitness classes, that was military training.
Okay.
That was training for a profession. It wasn't, everybody didn't go and
They don't do it.
march down the street, and it was a very, very specific group of people
So
in what we would call.
this is what's really interesting because as we always have recognized and being aware about food, that different cultures and different regions would have a different take and approach to food. I as soon as you said that, growing up in Indonesia, we actually have group fitness or group exercise for as long as I could remember. As a matter of fact, every Friday morning at school, we do a form of aerobic exercise that is very choreographed.
Mhm.
There's specific music, there's specific song, a specific
Yeah.
movement. So that's once a week. And as far as I can remember, the Chinese community had always done, the Tai Chi
Mhm.
in the garden.
Yeah.
So, so it's very,
Meditation.
yes, it's very interesting that from your observation and how you grew up in Australia in a Western society, that element was absent when it comes to that. But again, you have roller skating, rollerblading, or like that is part of. We didn't have a that kind of thing. We didn't have
Yeah.
dance classes. So back in the day, even though it was probably classified as entertainment rather than exercise, there is a form of exercise.
Yeah. I think as well, though, coming back to the how our parents' generation would have got feedback, uh, it's out of some of those classes. So when you go to one of those classes, when you go to a dancing class, or when you're doing a kind of exercise that we would do in a gym, looking around or even talking to other people, you get feedback on how well you're going. But I think today it's much more, and please correct me if this is inaccurate, but I think that there's less engagement with the other people in the class about how we're doing, because we've got all of these devices that are giving us feedback that we look at.
Yes and no. And I feel that it really depends on what type of classes that you immerse yourself into, or what type of group that you join. And as a matter of fact, I was never a group fitness of kind of person because I always think that I wanted to do my own thing.
Yeah.
And usually in life, when you vehemently don't want something, you end up doing that very thing, right? So I am currently doing a group fitness called BFT, and I have found that to be really, really helpful because I could be doing something myself and not knowing that I'm doing that wrongly, or using the wrong technique for 6 months and never get any correction. So I would be doing a lot of movement that are not only not optimal when it comes to my health and body composition, but may actually cause a lot more harm than benefits. So
Yeah.
this kind of group fitness, I'm in favor of.
Yeah.
The
Do you record your sessions? So do you
not
photography or
Yes,
yeah.
yes, but not for the not 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 to the level where I could actually review it to see if my bench pressing technique is correct or not, because I already got the feedback and the input during the session. But I suppose there's a lot of people who rely on that when it comes to bodybuilding, for example, when it comes to dance routine, or there's a lot of people who use dance and different types of dance performance, performing dan performance dancing, uh, as a form of exercise, because not a lot of people like the idea of going to the gym and pump iron. Some people like to do it as a form of exercise.
Look, I think you're definitely onto something here. I don't know if you remember Zumba.
Yes,
Well, not. I'm sorry. I don't want to put down all the people who are still doing Zumba right today.
yes,
Probably had a class this morning. It's still exceptionally popular, and it's a great workout.
yes, and However, I'm so glad that you mentioned Zumba because that was also one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about social media and health because I proudly announced that I have done and successfully completed High Rocks. And I did that on the day that I landed back from Dallas, Texas, in the US. So, 17 hours flight, but I was still managed to complete it. It was more than 90 minutes by a little bit, but still, the target was under 90 minutes. But I still completed the track. And the reason why I want to talk about social media health is because I would never have A, found out about High Rocks, and B, had the interest to do High Rocks if it wasn't for Instagram. When people are posting it, it gives me this a little bit of a FOMO in the way that I could do it too, or I can push myself to do it too. So this for very, very long time, we always thought that social media contributes to us being unhealthy. From a extra high sugar Nutella dessert, from all of this fast food that gives you that, the menu hack that you can
Yeah,
add
yeah.
5 burger patties to your Big Mac, for example.
Or
But
that AI generated burger
that
stuff as well.
yes, that makes you hungry at 1 a.m.
Yeah.
in the morning. I mean, you're a night owl. So for the very first time, it changed my perspective when it comes to social media and health because somebody also mentioned that run clubs and everything would not have been back in trend if it wasn't for Instagram.
Mm.
So, I mean, as it turns out, just like everything else in life, there's two sides to the story.
Yeah. So we've spoken about uh, how people exercise over the last few generations, and I think that doing exercise together is something that is more popular at the moment. And so then I guess the next extension of that is what you're talking about. That's the taking that to social media to get feedback or to celebrate your fitness
I am
to a
so
wider audience.
so this is the thing. This is the thing why I always think that doing this podcast with you is extremely entertaining as well as a learning phase for me, a source of learning for me, I should say, because uh, as you were saying that you're recording yourself for feedback as well as celebration. That was so true. But and however, I must say that at least for myself, I'm not judging anyone here. There's an element of self congratulation. There's an element of showing off. And as much as I hate to admit this, there's when it comes to High Rocks, for example, I posted about High Rocks. There's an element of showing off that I can do this.
Yeah.
There's an element to prove that I run a health and wellness and beauty brand. I take my own products, and therefore I should show you that my products work. And the proof is that I could do High Rocks even on the day that I landed from a long haul flight. So, do you? Let me get to my question to you, Stephen. Is that from your perspective? Do you think this element of pride and showing of self kind of to an extent a little bit beneficial to inspire and push people to be healthy?
I think it does, but I want to reframe what you just said. So I think
See,
that
this is where I said that it's actually really good because I can just do like a thought dumping and vomit to him, and then he was like, "Let me rephrase this," and then I'm sure this is the part that you guys are actually learning.
so much. So
Go on.
much. I feel like there's too much pressure now. Um, so uh, let me reframe that just a little bit
Okay.
because I think that there are certainly a lot of people uh, that they complete something they're very proud of themselves,
Yeah.
and that's amazing. And I think that that inspires those people to go and do something else or to do that thing again or improve their time. Um, in the business world and in the world of marketing, we talk about that as gamification. So essentially, what you're doing is you're setting up a situation where people, your market, the people that you're trying to reach, uh, compete with each other to be the better person at that particular thing. And then when you provide that to the world and explain what you've done, then that is gamifying, I guess, that activity, because the whole idea of gamification is, someone gets the best score or the highest score or the quickest run or whatever.
So there is an element of self-serving. I guess of course there is, because there can only be one winner in the World Cup, for example. But the question is that, should health and being healthy become a competition? And the reason why I am not 100% in agreement with this, with this concept and notion, is that it turned being healthy, and it is already happening. It turns being healthy into a social status.
Yes. So instead of it being a competition, let's rephrase that as it being gamified or being a game.
But should it be?
Well, I think that there is a lot of incentive for someone who uh, perhaps comes second to come first next time.
But do you not think that this whole process further gatekeep being healthy?
And I think that can be pushed too far for sure.
Because for all intents and purpose, doing high rocks is good for you, because to do that you have to train. Da, 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 da. But at the same time, it also costs money.
Yeah.
As soon as you finish the race, you get this little Velcro thing that people now collect. So it's specific to the year, and it's specific to the venue, to the city. So
Mm.
I now have Sydney,
Yeah.
and I'm now in the process of thinking
Mm.
to do Melbourne at the
Yeah,
end of this year.
reaction.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's a part of me that wants to collect all of these badges, gamification. But at the same time, I also think that, it's a badge of honor in the way that, hey, I can do this. I'm not thinking that I'm better than people,
Mm.
but I would be lying if I say that thought that, oh, I'm a little bit better than people who haven't done that. I would be lying if I say that that thought has never crossed my mind, because it has.
Yeah. But I think, Vincent, there are a number of people who get the Sydney and they're like, "Great, I've achieved that. That's what I wanted to do." One of my very good friends, she'd never done a marathon before,
Yes.
and so she trained for ages. She was with a little running group. She does park run every Saturday morning, and she went through and she did a half marathon to start.
Yes.
And she's like, "Great, I've done it. I don't need to do it again." Now, I reminded her that uh, she was the time that she had. She probably could have run a bit faster, and she's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, I probably could have run a bit faster." And so now she's kind of thinking that maybe she'll do another one. But actually, there are a lot of people out there, I think, who go, I'm going to do a half marathon. Once I've done one, great,
Yeah.
tick. Next, I'm going to go and climb a mountain. Uh, climb Mount Kosciuszko, which is, it's a very small mountain, but it's still classified
As mountain.
as a mountain, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, tick. Those people don't need to go to base camp. They don't need to, climb Mont Blanc.
So, but then again, nobody would have done this if social media doesn't exist, because who to like there's a limited number of people that you can tell and you can show off your badges to.
See, I think this is actually the point.
Okay.
So there have been people who have been running marathons for a very long time without social media. They're
Again,
climbing mountains without social media.
I understand that, but there at the same time, there's also a lot of people in this group of people who are doing it. I wouldn't say solely to post on social media,
But it's a big part of it.
but it's a big part of it, whether they realize it, admit it or not.
Mm. So I guess the question we need to ask then is it good that social media and the trying to get that photo of you, uh,
Well, but the result is, does the result justify the means?
yeah, No, completely. And I think that there is a healthy side of that, and then there is an unhealthy side of that.
Okay.
And the healthy side of it
Yes.
is, I personally have never thought that I would run a marathon or a half marathon. I'm not really a runner, but if my friends got together and said, you should join, like maybe I would. Maybe I would do a half marathon, but I wouldn't run a half marathon just to post it on Instagram. I think that's where it tips over. If you're doing something just so that you can post it on social media.
Let me give you a specific scenario then. So my High Rocks post got 24,000 views.
Yeah.
One of the highest views that I get that has nothing to do with science. So if you go to Ask Dr. Vincent Instagram, it is probably the most confusing Instagram because I post about my daughter, I post about cooking, I post about science, my business, and everything. But I treat Instagram as my personal diary, so that 50 years later I can look back. So I don't really post for algorithm. If you watch it and you like it, and it goes like viral or semi-viral, I'm happy. But if not,
But it's authentic.
I try to be. I mean, I still put filter on, but I try to be as authentic. You know what? You know the reason why I mentioned it is because the other day I said to actually to Christian, I said that, wow, I feel that I was featured. I don't know, like a year ago or 2 years ago, because look at this picture of me. Like I look like really, really like slim and like taut and put together and everything. And then after that, I realized that I actually edited that picture, so that is not a true representation. So I now try not to edit it. Filter I still do, but I don't edit picture anymore.
Yeah.
But going back to that Hyrox post, I got 24,000 views, one of the highest that has nothing to do with work or science.
Yeah.
I have to say that that gave me a boost of motivation to like maybe I should do Melbourne again,
Okay.
which I think it's kinda good, but also I also felt kinda bad because I shouldn't be motivated by likes and views.
Mm,
What do you think?
um, no, I'm still in the camp that if it motivates you to do something that you enjoy and do something that you've got pleasure out of, that dopamine hit of, even if it's
Yes.
the lots of views, if that's a dopamine hit for you, then I think that's fine. Um, I think the ones that we need to be careful of are the ones that encourage you to do dangerous things.
Did you know that FDA now requires a certain level of I don't know whether it's a label or not because I just saw it when I was transiting coming back home from, Shanghai via Bangkok. Benadryl, which is a cough medicine, cough syrup. Apparently, there is now or recently there was a trend on TikTok on how much Benadryl that you can drink in like 30 seconds or something. So, I th
So I think
you're
those,
referring to those kind of things.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it's sports or sports that encourage you to do things that are potentially dangerous. I don't I don't personally think that that's a good
As someone who
choice.
grew up without social media longer than I have, in other words, you're older than me,
Yeah.
how do you reconcile? Because a lot of people, like, for example, Olivia, she would not she doesn't know and would not be able to imagine life without technology and social media. She was born into it. I am very lucky that I still know some of the analog side of life, like cassette, DVD, and everything. But for you and your generation, how do you view social media? Because I think it provides probably a little bit more purer view on social media because you understand social media, you understand the technology side of it. So you're not you're not ignorant or you're not like burying your head in the sand and not no don't want not wanting to care and know about social media. But at the same time, your whole formative years of being adult happen without social media.
No, that's absolutely right. But those years didn't happen without photography, for example. So, we took more photos and uh,
And you
when
actually display the
but
photos.
and actually display the photos. That's right. We didn't have the internet
Yeah.
necessarily to display those photos. I'm not that old either.
No, no, I know.
Let me jump in
I am not saying I'm not saying otherwise.
but you're right. So, for my teenage years, the internet was not common, in the home. So, how did you get feedback? Well, you got feedback from your friends and family. You got feedback, and you got encouragement from your schoolmates. It was more a face to face. It was more engagement with your local community, and I think in some cases, for a little while at least, we lost a bit of that. Um, I
We're coming
feel
back to
that
it
we're
now.
coming back.
We're coming back to
Yeah,
it.
because we all need that personal engagement,
Yes.
and I think that people who have grown up in an internet age have a ever contracting aperture on how much you believe is on the internet. So in the early days of the internet, you saw something on the internet, you kind of believed it because there wasn't fake news wasn't even a term.
Yeah.
Uh, AI, absolutely nowhere near that. Uh, we had Photoshop, so you couldn't necessarily
But
believe
it's
in
not that
everything that.
but it's not that accessible. So for example,
That's right.
you used to have to go through a professional airbrushing and everything for you to look like the model on Elle magazine, for example, or Vogue magazine.
Now you just hit a button.
Now you just hit a button. So, but you know what? If take it from me, I know that it's very flattering at the moment, like in the moment when you do that, but don't do that because it makes you feel really bad. Like I had forgot that specific picture that I showed to Christian. I had forgotten that I actually edited that picture, but then looking back now, I feel bad about my what have I done? Why did I look really good then? But that was edited. So do yourself a favor and don't do that because
Yeah.
part of the social media that I personally do not like is that you've known me for quite a bit now. I hope that I came across as someone who is quite confident and self-assured, which I try to be. But I have to say that even with the level of self-assurance, self-worth, and confidence that I have to say when I because now my algorithm is all hierarchs, and a lot of people they do hierarch shirtless. I have to say that I feel a little bit of a I wouldn't call it body dysmorphia because that is a specific sort of kinda
Mm.
diagnosis, but I feel a little bit of similar effect to that, that I feel that I need to train more.
Yeah.
To the point where I know to if it's competing with yourself and making yourself better, improving yourself, that's good. But I'm talking about the question like, why am I not why am I not achieving that result? And when I voice it with some of my gym mates, the first thing that they said, "Oh, take creatine." And I really hate I don't have any issue with creatine. I just happen to think that it's unnatural for us to introduce the amount of creatine to our body. What I'm trying to say is that it it fits a vicious cycle because when you voice it, someone then said, that, "Oh,
Yeah.
take
There's a drug
something.
for that.
There's a drug for it. There's a supplement for that."
Yeah.
And then you take that, and then what's the next one? So this is my issue with the whole fitness and health and wellness society
Yeah.
on social media.
Let's focus though on the positives because I think that there are positives. As we started earlier in the podcast, you were talking about
Yes.
the good things that you
Yes.
get out of social media. Uh, I wanted to call everyone's attention because I think it's such an awesome idea of hot girl walks. Have you heard of hot girl
I
walks?
have not. You mentioned it just now, but I refrained from googling it because I really want to hear your describe it. So for those of you who are watching live right now, Stephen is not an AI. He's a real person. I know you cannot hear him right now, but for this specific segment, it's actually going to be better because it's like listening to a description of something that I honestly do not know what this is.
So hot girl walks, it's a very simple concept. There's an Instagram person in the US who came up with this, and she's famous for it. But what I love about it is its simplicity. So it is a walk and typically about 6 kilometers, so maybe an hour or so. And while you're walking, the idea is that you think of three things specifically. And those three things are what you're grateful for, positive, what your goals are and how you will achieve them, positive, and of course, how hot you are.
Okay.
So if you think of those three things while you do your 6 kilometer walk, what you're grateful for, what your goals are, how you're going to achieve them,
I really like
and
that.
how hot you are, that's a hot girl walk. Now, I asked my favorite AI if there was a version for guys,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and it made complete sense. The message that I got back from my AI, of course, in the male side of hot girl walks, some people call them boss walks. Other
Okay.
people call them city boy walks. I'm not sure that works in Australia. Uh, Clear head walks. And then I remembered that a whole bunch of people that I know, particularly in sales, will often
Power
form
walk.
a running group
Yeah,
or a power walking group.
yeah.
And I know quite a few people who pull together their sales teams and they have a sales meeting walking,
Yeah.
an active sales meeting. Now, I'm not sure if they are thinking about how hot they are, but I'm sure that they are thinking about their goals and how they're going to reach them.
Yes. Well, I do a lot of walking. As you know, like the two things. Like I asked somebody to describe our podcast and ask Dr. Vincent, not only the podcast, but ask Dr. Vincent. And a lot of them said, you're always talking about drinking water and walking, drinking water and walking. I said, well, if you guys get it, I wouldn't have to actually repeat it all the time, but all of you still are not doing it. Otherwise,
Yeah.
we'll all be a healthier society.
Well, look, I think the Power Girl walks or the Boss walks or the Ask Dr. Vincent walk.
I no, I think hot girl
Hot girl walk.
walk is better.
I really love the idea, and it works for our podcast as well.
You can listen to our podcast because our podcast is very positive. It shows you what you should be grateful of because I really like what you said just now. You can always find a negative in things, including social media, like what we're talking about today, breakfast, and all of the things. You can find, if you want to find negative things about something, you will find it. But we tend to have the attitude of looking at the bright side of stuff, looking at the positive side of things, and how to turn, so to speak, uh, lemon into lemonade. I know that we're Apple company, but that's okay. Other fruit is good too. And the other thing that I also like about this thing that you said is about goals. There is something about movement and being in motion and thinking about your dreams and goals.
I think it kind of makes your brain work.
That is correct
Yeah.
because a lot of my good ideas come from walking. I love to walk. I try to hit the 10,000 steps goal every day, and I do know that it helps me. Like I call it pacing. So I love
Yeah.
to pay. Like even when I'm in a meeting, in a phone meeting, it's really hard to do on a Zoom meeting. But on a phone meeting, I would be like pacing, and I think that helps a lot because um, a human body, including our brain, loves action. What I'm saying about that is that think about it. When you are actually doing something while waiting, it makes the wait more bearable. For example, back in the day when they designed new airports, instead of making the pathway from the arrival gate to where you collect your baggage short and you end up having to wait for your bag, the level of complaints that airport received was astronomically high. So they changed the design of the airport that makes you walk from your arrival gate to where you're actually collecting your baggage. The amount of time that you take walking versus waiting, they're essentially the same. But by the time you finish your walk, you get to the baggage carousel, your bag will arrive in 2 minutes,
Hopefully.
hopefully. But most of the time, it shortened the waiting time
Yeah.
and the amount of complaints decrease. What I'm trying to say is that our body, our brain, our mind love motion. When we're doing something, when we're actively doing something, it makes us feel that we are moving towards our goal. We're moving towards what we want to achieve. And this concept of walking and thinking about what you want to achieve works on so many different levels. And it's always good to think that you're hot, you're good looking, because you need to be your own best cheerleader, your number one fan. And I know that it's so vain to think that you're good looking, beautiful, and hot, but I happen to believe that one of the first steps of feeling good is looking good.
I think so too.
That's good. Yeah,
Definitely.
we're in good company.
I also think, and I haven't done the research, and maybe I'm just completely making this up, but I think the reason that there aren't that many mirrors on that walk between your gate and picking up your luggage is because the airport doesn't want to remind you that after a 16-hour flight, you're probably not looking your best.
Well, now, excuse me. I look at my hair. Uh, uh, I happen to think that I'm a good flyer, and
Yeah.
don't be so humble, Stephen, because you're a good flyer too. You, I know that you didn't fly for a living, but for all intents and purpose, you flew for a living. Like you fly,
No,
and
that's very true.
your flights were mostly long hauls.
They were. Mostly Singapore and Malaysia, occasionally up to Tokyo, and then in the US for a couple of times, and in Europe
Yeah,
as well, at least once a year. And I think we've spoken about this a little bit before. That the whole making sure that you're hydrated, making sure that you're wearing comfy clothes. Really strongly recommend that. And
and
if
whilst the alcohol is free, please limit
yeah,
yourself.
be a bit light on the alcohol. Go
Yeah,
for a walk around the plane. It's that movement that
yeah.
helps as well. And stay off social media, which I guess has been really super easy on planes until quite recently. So now so many planes have
Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi. Did you post anything while you're in the air?
No, because uh, well, fortunately slash unfortunately, Qantas doesn't have Wi-Fi on their international flight, which I don't
Mhm.
quite mind it. I don't mind about the social media. That's fine.
You think it's a disconnect?
I It's less about disconnection. It's more about the pressure that maybe I'm imagining that people gave me or that I gave myself if there was Wi-Fi on a plane.
Mm.
Because plane used to be one of the very few places where you can disconnect.
Yeah.
And people can't really blame you for not being able to reply to messages or emails because you are flying. By default, it used to be there was no connection unless you're on Air Force One or something. But but now with in-flight Wi-Fi, it's almost like people expect you to still be answering to emails. People expect you to still be responding to messages.
Yeah. I took a
And
couple of Zoom calls from over the Pacific.
yeah, yeah, Charlie, you better not do this. I really value my time on the plane. I love flying. It doesn't matter which class I'm flying in. I love flying because again, I am from that generation where flying used to be a really cool thing. And one of the things that I'm really worried about my daughter is that Olivia has had 43 flights before she turned 3,
Wow.
which good for her, amazing. Some of them were domestic, some of them were international, but at the same time, I sometimes feel bad for her because it takes the shine out of flying. It takes I am re, it remains to this day that I'm always very giddy and excited whenever like I know that I'm going to the airport, I'm going to be flying, the whole experience. I love that, and I love that feeling.
Yeah. That's amazing. I think that that is a really great point to finish up for our podcast. We're at about 40 minutes or so. But if I think about what we've spoken about today, we've gone off on a couple of tangents,
Yes, as always.
but as always. But the thing that I really love about our discussion today is that we've highlighted that all of these activities, the group exercise, the walking, the running, the going up and down the flight uh, lanes while you're on a long haul flight, all of this movement and staying hydrated, it's very true to what we've been talking about for this entire series.
Yeah.
And it gives me a lot of confidence to remember that uh, when I was growing up, jogging was a big thing. And so you put on your lycra, your headband, you got out your Sony Walkman, which had a tape.
Do we have a picture of you in like her?
No, they've all been destroyed. Um, with headphones that are connected by a wire.
Yeah. Oh my. Yes.
And, actually, not that much has changed. You won't get me in Lycra unless I'm on a bike. But other than that,
I don't think they're choosy. They just want to see you in Lycra, Stephen. I didn't matter what activities.
we've got some technology that's helping us. We know how fast we're going when we're cycling instead of having to try and judge by catching up to cars. Uh, we've got some technology that helps us. And I think what we've established, I hope you agree with me, that social media is actually beneficial, pushes us to gamify some of our activities, share them with people who are hopefully interested.
I'm
Get
I-
their feedback.
I'm not 100% in agreement with you, but I am. You made me very hopeful, and in a way, I feel almost like absolved from the vanity aspect of social media, because that is the thing that worries me sometimes, because I would catch myself feeling that, do I am I doing this for social media or not? Which I hope I'm not. That I know that there is a proportion of what the reasoning that is being attributed to social media, but I hope that now and going forward, it is not something that it's not just the sole reason, because I think that that's when, as you put it, that is pushing and towing the line when it becomes the sole reason of you doing something,
Yeah.
including good things like being healthy and being active. Well, on that note, I will no, no, I seriously promise you that we will be back next week. We will be talking about things that hopefully will be encouraging, will help you not only in answering questions about health, wellness, science, and life, but also trigger questions that you have. Because as much as I always say this, if I'm not doing this podcast, I will be listening to this podcast, because as much as you are learning, hopefully, from us, we're also learning from you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Vincent. It's so good to be back.
Thank you, Stephen.
Next week.
Thank you. I've missed you. See you. Bye bye.
Bye for now.